Hey everyone, thanks for being here, showing up to your Kusala meditation hour practice. It's very kind of you for being here. So thank you. Um, and I wanted to talk a little bit today about a Kusala topic, and I was thinking about like, okay, what did I want today's theme to be? What was relevant and resonating for me personally? Because I get to choose, so. I could be, I could choose what's resonating for me too. But also like what's coming up for some of the people that I've been talking to in private interviews and the group Q&A sessions. And something that I realized is that turning towards suffering is hard. It's challenging, and because if it wasn't hard, then everyone would do it. But if you think about the number of people in this retreat, maybe the number of people who will watch this video later, given that this is like an international retreat, it's a drop in the bucket. Where there's very relatively few people who are genuinely training their mind and turning towards suffering to understand it. And I don't blame them. It's hard. It's really, really difficult. It can be very unpleasant at times. Um, so I just wanted to share that because, what the bravery and the courage of the friends that I've been working with and talking with this week has been really humbling, like really, really deeply moving. Uh, just to see the depth of that courage and strength of heart to embrace the difficulty. And this is the first noble truth, right? This is what the Buddha taught in his first sutta. He taught the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. But even before he decided to teach, he was asked to teach by I think Indra, and he looked around and he was like, "Nah, I'm not going to teach. There's not enough people who will really understand what I'm doing or what I'm going to teach." Like, and that's the reality of like how few people probably are practicing. Buddha almost didn't teach us. So it is hard, it is difficult, and part of it is because we are turning towards the root causes and the experience of suffering, of dukkha. I like to remind myself and others that um, the Four Noble Truths, they're called noble because they ennoble us when we turn towards the reality of our conditioned existence and the suffering that's arising through ignorance. um, we are becoming noble. It is a noble venture. It's a noble activity to do that, to practice this path. And you think about noble, there are noble people, and there's everyone else. There's like commoners, right? In terms of like another way of understanding it. So it's noble in that it's a rare demonstration of courage. So so we can feel encouraged, right? We can feel encouraged that we have this capacity to turn towards it in a way that is with wisdom. We're doing it so we can understand it and understand its causes and what will and how if we how to remove the causes and where to cease. So I was thinking about that and just the courage I've been seeing. And one thing that I notice about the kusala, or just really about this practice in general, is that it kind of it does challenge us. So, when we're cultivating these good qualities, and when we're training our mind, we do want to feel challenged a little bit. It's good to be challenged. not overwhelmed, but it's good to be kind of at our, a little bit outside our comfort zone. And you all know that I'm like a public school teacher, and they have a term for this in education. It's called the proximal zone of development, or the PZD, which is that perfect area of you're not in your comfort zone, but you're not overwhelmed. And so you're right in the middle. And and that's really where we want to try to create situations for ourselves so we can grow. And and I know from from being on retreat myself, and hearing the reports, is like retreat is a great zone of development, right? It's hard. We don't have our distractions and so forth. So being on this retreat and doing that, you're being kind to yourself by challenging yourself. So shout out to you all. Just really, really proud of everyone. And and also I say that because it's like once we train in that zone of development, or that outside our comfort zone, uh, the comfort zone expands. So it gets a little bit wider, or we get to be comfortable in more and different situations that maybe we wouldn't have been comfortable with in the past. So we keep kind of extending the boundaries of what we're able to practice with. And sometimes we can and kind of see, especially with kusala, qualities that we want to develop. We can see like, oh, I notice that I have this habit that's maybe I'm not as generous as I could be, or maybe I notice a tendency of jealousy in my mind, or maybe I have a lot of social anxiety. And so we see these kind of habits that are keeping us in a small comfort zone. And so we can, not overwhelm ourselves, but we can challenge that a little bit. We can say, okay, I'm going to put a little extra intention on being generous today, of giving maybe a little bit more of my time than maybe I would normally. If I'm in a rush and I try to rush people, maybe I'll be a little bit more patient. Or maybe I'll practice mudita today, and I'll work on uh, sending joy, or just really celebrating that person, and just putting my own comparison to side for a few minutes. Uh, or maybe I'll, challenge myself in another way. So this is how we can train in this way. We can intentionally train in that way. And so I was like, okay, going back, I know it's kind of a long-winded context, but I was thinking about like, okay, well, we've done a lot of different metta objects. Or we've done a lot of wholesome things. What do I think maybe myself and others, what do I need right now to challenge myself? What am I finding a little bit of resistance of practicing with, right? Go towards that resistance. Go towards the dukkha. Uh, Ayakema, she was a late Theravadan Buddhist nun. She said, suffering is our best friend because it points to the direction of our liberation. So we go towards it, right? So it's like, okay, what am I feeling a little resistance around? And I was like, oh, I don't want to admit it, but okay. So this is what we're gonna be. This is how I chose the theme of today's metta session. And I would like us to practice forgiveness practice. And it's hard. It's hard. There's probably people in our life who have harmed us. There are people causing harm to each other. Uh, we have caused harm to others. And it's just not fun to acknowledge harm. We would like to just forget about it, or we would like to cut people out of our life. It's actually really sad. Like, there's a growing momentum of people in my generation, millennial generation, who who just are cutting out multiple people out of their life, just like some they call it ghosting. And they'll just, even for like small insignificant things, they'll just cut people out of their life. No word, change their address, sell their homes. And this is heartbreaking. You know, the whole families are being split apart for maybe big harm, but maybe also small harm. And it's really sad to me. You know, I do have personal experience with this. I've seen this in my family, even generationally. Like, and so, you know, part of this is like, okay, can I challenge myself to break this generational habit, or, you know, within my millennial cohort or within my family lineage of this cutting each other out and thinking that, you know, that's the only strategy that we can use to solve conflict. Right? It is a strategy, and maybe certain situations that's what's needed, maybe in certain cases at certain times. But I definitely should not necessarily be our first and only strategy. But the reason why I think it's so prevalent is because it's so difficult to forgive, to forgive oneself, to hold space and acknowledging the harm that was done to us, and acknowledging it, but then also letting it go. It's hard because, yeah, we're human beings. We're not perfect, and we make mistakes, and we accidentally and sometimes intentionally harm each other. And forgiveness practice is asking us to include that within the scope of our practice. And so it's okay if in this practice we feel a little uncomfortable. That's what I'm inviting us to feel. And we don't want to be overwhelmed, so maybe not choose the deepest betrayal that you know of or that you felt, or but maybe there's something that is coming up for you that you would like to practice with, that does train you a little bit to extend your comfort zone. And with all practice, it's called practice because we're likely not going to do this one meditation session and then totally be healed and drop all resentment or still have shame around it, like, you know, or even make the same mistake again. So it is a practice, and we can include that understanding in our forgiveness practice. We can include space in this guided meditation that I'll lead for forgiveness of ourself, for our past self, for our current self, for our future self. Just so again, we're kind of visualizing it, knowing that we will definitely make mistakes in the future. And by visualizing that, we can anticipate that and be more open to that, and maybe have a better chance of forgiving ourselves and other people too. So, and just like the way that we did a couple of days ago around receiving metta and then giving metta, I find that our relationship with ourself really does impact the way that we and impact our relationship with other people too. It's kind of like our relationship with our own heart and mind can be mirrors for how we relate to others. So this practice is extremely powerful and and very healing. And in time, it can heal our own heart. It can heal our families, and we can cultivate from that letting go of that ill will, from that letting go of that resentment. We can cultivate relationships of love and harmony with people in our life and with ourselves. So, so yeah. Um, in this meditation, we will go through we'll do three categories. We will um, bring to mind first a time that maybe we harmed someone, we made a mistake. Again, nothing too big, but in a way that we made a mistake that affected someone else. And we can first ask for forgiveness We can feel. Feeling is really important in this practice. We can feel the regret. We can feel and acknowledge within our heart the unskillfulness of that action. Again, not in a way that beats ourselves up or that that we're not trying to be mean to ourselves. We're just trying to acknowledge the other's perspective, the other person's perspective. So we're actually, in a way, when we're asking for forgiveness, we're decentering ourselves. We're considering the other in that moment, and see how that was for them. And then and then we can maybe ask for forgiveness, and then we let go of resistance to that memory. And I think sometimes that's what we're learning in MIDL, is that the resistance to that memory is what makes us feel crappy, because we have aversion to it. And so then we don't learn from it, and we keep making the same mistake, or we keep hurting people in the same way. So we're going to let go of resistance to that memory and find a sense of okayness, perhaps a sense of warmth, kindness, forgiveness in the letting go of the resistance after we ask for forgiveness. So we'll do that. Ask for forgiveness. And I'll put this in the chat just so we have 3. Okay. Then we will offer forgiveness to others. So we'll bring to mind a time that someone has harmed us. Again, staying in our proximal zone of development. And we will likewise offer forgiveness, feel what it's like to offer forgiveness to the other. What is it like to let go of that ill will? How do we feel it in our body? That softening, that movement of letting go in our mind and in our heart. And then the third category, we will forgive ourselves, which is often the most difficult, which is why we're doing it last. And yeah, just recognizing that maybe we have harmed ourselves in the past, maybe intentionally, maybe through ignorance, unintentionally, and we can offer ourselves forgiveness, noticing how it feels, the wholesomeness of that offering, perhaps even accepting it, letting go of resisting or having aversion to that incident, in a way where when we drop the resistance to these situations, we can actually learn from them. We can actually move on. We can grow from them. We can engage with these people again, perhaps, or with ourself in a way where yeah, just being able to be with ourselves in more and different situations. So we don't just have to avoid certain people, or we don't have to just avoid certain situations. We can repair relationship. Ultimately, being able to be with more people and more situations in circumstances. So yeah, this is challenging for me too. So just know you're in good company. But this is a practice. So we'll just be patient and kind with ourselves. Okay, sound okay? Sound good? Okay, great. Excellent. Yeah, I'm so proud of you all already. Just for like getting started. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and find a comfortable seat. If you need to lie down or adjust, that's great, no problem. And this is, before we close our eyes, I just want to share something that a Theravadan teacher, her name's Heather Sundberg, she taught me this, and I think it's nice, so I just want to offer this too. Um, Before you close your eyes, you can just look around the room, around you, noticing that you are in a safe place, that you have 4 walls protecting you. Perhaps you have a roof over your head. protecting you from the elements. It's quiet and you're safe. So that recognition can kind of help our nervous system relax and help us feel safety in our body, grounding us in the present, right? That's before we really dive into, I will guide just a little bit of time grounding in our body because we don't want to get lost in memories so much so that we lose our sense of grounding in the present. So we're going to take our time and really relax first, find safety in our body before we do the forgiveness practice. So having established that by looking around, when you're ready, you can allow your eyes to close. And beginning by opening to our entire experience sitting here in the room. You may notice sounds coming and going. We can open and listen to these sounds, noticing how little effort it takes for them to be heard. Opening to sounds begins to create a receptive attitude in our heart and mind, creating space. You might begin to notice sensations in the body, noticing the temperature of the air against the skin, the warmth from your clothing. Noticing, feeling the connection of our feet or legs against the ground, connecting us with Mother Earth. Noticing the sensations, your hands resting in each other or in your lap. The pressure of your hips connecting with your seat or cushion, grounding your center of gravity, providing a foundation for us to sit tall but relaxed. Noticing if there's any held tension in the body, maybe in the forehead or in the jaw, giving your body permission to relax. Perhaps with that relaxation, noticing it cascade down your body naturally so that the shoulders drop, maybe our stomach unclenches. And just for right now, we can put everything down other than this experience of being within the body. And when we put everything down, we feel the relief of that in our body. If the tension wants to wander, jumping from thought to sensation, that's okay, that's great. Let the attention do that, allowing your awareness to settle in the body in the background. You notice feelings of anxiety or unpleasant emotion. Notice how nice it is just to not have to control it. Give it the space it's asking for. Let it be without diving into it and feeding it. And this letting it be feels nice, feels kind. And we can let it be. If it starts to fade, that's fine too. Doesn't matter. We get to just enjoy letting go and letting go, grounding deeper into our body, deeper into contentment and safety. And so, keeping this anchor of our body in the present, we can engage in forgiveness practice, recognizing it's a deep act of kindness and courage for ourselves and for others. True kindness, true wholesomeness. So we can bring to mind someone who maybe we were unskillful with. And again, we don't want to overwhelm ourselves, but someone maybe who, when you think of them, there's a little bit of regret that maybe hasn't been fully acknowledged, felt, and released. And so holding this person in your mind's eye or in your heart center, having the general feel of this person, staying grounded in your body. We can ask for their forgiveness, letting go resistance to the regret, allowing our heart to acknowledge the harm that we created. Not with judgmental attitude, but with wisdom, with clarity. Perhaps seeing it from their perspective. Recognizing that in this conflict, they want to be happy. And they were feeling hurt because maybe we hadn't acknowledged their their wish for happiness. As we open to this memory while staying grounded in our body, it gives us an opportunity to learn. And so we can allow ourselves to really feel any remorse that's coming up. Letting go of resistance to the remorse. Perhaps even smiling into the remorse. Seeing the remorse as a friend, as a teacher. We start to notice thoughts or habits of the inner critic arising or harsh self-judgment. Recognize that that is a hindrance to the real remorse. We can soften and relax following those thoughts, coming back to the simple, direct feeling of the remorse. So if you'd like, you can say, "Please forgive me. I'm sorry. If you'd like, you can imagine them accepting your apology. But the truth is that even if they don't, you still have faced the harm with bravery, with courage, in a way that we're now less likely to harm them or another in the same way again. And that's very healing. So we can notice the wholesomeness of that. The letting go of the shame and guilt around it. So next, we can bring to mind a person who, not in a horrible, horrible way, but, someone who maybe in a slight or middling way harmed us. Maybe someone who was inconsiderate to you or cut you off in traffic. And we can acknowledge our own feelings of being hurt. Letting go of resistance to feelings of sadness, disappointment. And as we reflect on this memory or this situation while staying grounded in our body, we can recognize that this person harmed us out of the force of habitual delusion. We can bring our insight practice to understand that they acted without fully understanding the impact of their actions. If they did, they probably wouldn't have done that. And so you might notice with this insight that compassion can start to take root for yourself, for the other, for the situation. And this compassion ennobles us to perhaps offer forgiveness to the one who harmed us. We can say phrases like, I forgive you. It's okay. I accept your apology. Noticing how when we let go of ill will and resentment, it heals our and opens our heart. Sitting with the healing contentment of this wholesome forgiveness for the other. And then finally, we can bring to mind ourselves, reflecting on a time, perhaps when we made a bad choice, maybe when we unintentionally or intentionally harmed ourselves. And first, relaxing and letting go of any resistance to the remorse, to the sadness. Allowing ourselves to acknowledge the unskillfulness of our actions with courage and kindness. We can even say a phrase like, I'm sorry, past self. I'm sorry, little me. You can recognize that me too, or just acting out of habit. We didn't really realize the consequences of our actions at the time. And so we can have compassion for ourselves, and we can really feel the remorse that we have. So we can offer forgiveness to ourselves. Giving and receiving this forgiveness, it may feel like joy, it may feel like love, like peace, allowing to stay for a few more moments with this, giving and receiving a forgiveness for ourselves. Enjoying this letting go, enjoying this wholesome repair. So we can begin to relax our attention, coming back to the borders of our body, sitting here. And just noticing the resonance of this softening and opening of the heart to forgiveness. Noticing its qualities of both vulnerability and strength at the same time. We're both feeling the softness and the power, strength, allowing it to nourish us. And so we can start to invite movement into our body, maybe rolling our shoulders, stretching, opening to the sounds in the room. When you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. Well done. Fantastic. So proud of us. So let's go ahead and end with our metta chant. Share the lyrics. And you can sing or hum along or just listen if you'd like. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Buddhang Pujami Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Dhammang Pujami Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Sanghang Pujami Ahang Awero Homi Abhya Pajo Homi Anigo Homi Sukhiyatanang Pariharami Mama Mata Pitu Acharya Cha Nyatamita Cha Sabrahmacharino Cha Awera Hontu Abhya Paja Hontu Anika Hontu Sukhiyatanang Pariharantu Imasming Arame Sabe Yogino Awera Hontu Abhya Paja Hontu Aniga Hontu Sukhiyatanang Pariharantu Amhakam Haraka Dewata Imasming Vihare Imasming Awase Imasming Arame Araka Dewata Awera Hontu Abhya Paja Hontu Aniga Hontu Sukhiyatanang Pariharantu Sabe Sata Sabe Pana Sabe Bhuta Sabe Pugala Sabe Atabawa Pariyapana Saba Itiyo Sabe Purisa Sabe Iti Purisa Sabe Anita Purisa Sabe Ariya Sabe Anariya Sabe Dewa Sabe Manusa Sabe Winipatika Awera Hontu Abhya Paja Hontu Aniga Hontu Sukhiyatanang Pariharantu Dukkha Muchantu Yata Lada Sampatito Mawiganchantu Kamasaka Idang no Punyabhagang Sabha Satanang Bhajema Sadhu Sadhu, sadhu. Well done, everyone. Well done. Okay, have a great start of your day, or the middling of your day, or a good evening, and we'll practice together soon. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.